This is Indie Attack with Kelson and
Woody.
Today we have Shattered. This is from the Ludum Dare 30 contest for our week of Ludum Dare 30 games, and this is by Guimonpa?
Some combination of letters that sound like that.
Killed it. And Shattered is a Metroidvania style game where you play this inky guy.
This cat in a space helmet.
Ink cat that comes down to examine a sort of a wasteland of a planet and gather orbs and
also
eventually...
treasures, too.
Treasures.
Because you're a grave robber.
You are essentially, yes, you're robbing a shattered world, as the name implies. And yeah, it's pretty familiar territory for any platformer Metroidvania fan.
As you collect orbs, you take them back to your ship, and you can get upgrades. You know, your double jump, your jetpack. There's like a super round pound thing. Yes,
and you're basically switching between two maps while you look for things, and each map gradually expands as you get your new abilities. You go up into the air and down into the ground looking for the treasure.
Now, a lot of that sounds... it's like a lot of pretty standard Metroidvania tropes. The thing I run into with this is that the upgrades are hard to control, and they can lead to more frustration than they do exploration.
Yeah.
The jetpack, especially. The control method is you jump, and then while you're in the air, you press jump in directions to control the direction you're moving in. You have a limited amount of fuel. All of that sounds normal, but you bounce off walls when you use the jetpack, and it ironically kind of makes a lot of stuff more difficult than it would have been with just a normal double jump, because you'll bounce off the wall and fall down an area you would have just landed on normally.
Right.
And you run into a lot of situations where you can mentally reason that this is how you get through this section.
Yeah.
But actually playing it is way more difficult than that, and you need some really, oddly precise timing at points. And it gets a little frustrating. That's actually the reason I ended up stopping playing this game. I was trying to do this really hard section with a bunch of spikes, and it was kind of like I had failed too many times. Thankfully, the checkpoint system's pretty lenient. And it was just kind of well, I don't want to keep going.
Right, it's the punishing, the bad suck.
Yeah.
Where it's, the mechanic is difficult, and the environment is set up with the mechanic to make it as hard as it possibly can be. I agree that there are some mechanical issues with this game. And of course, it is a Ludum Dare game, so we're treating them...
Yeah.
We're treating this, we're being it's honest, and there are some pros that go along
the art style's great
with this. Yeah, the art style, the aesthetic, and the soundtrack, I thought were all great. Really polished. You can tell they really spent a lot of time developing that, and they had a clear vision.
And the general concept of a Metroidvania framed as a grave robbing adventure on a dead planet is really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And I liked taking stuff back to your ship to upgrade. And expanded. I could see this being expanded really easily. There's a lot of directions you could take that, kind of getting treasure, and you can trade the treasure for stuff, and then you can also get upgrades on the planet. There's a lot of ways to go with that.
You could definitely, get a more sophisticated skill tree going. And I think, tweaking the mechanics, because here's the thing is that it is a Metroidvania style game, but it is also a puzzler, essentially. With the setup, it creates a puzzler environment of having to solve how to navigate the maps. It's what it focuses on as opposed to fighting enemies. You know, and I think if they wanted to, they could give you a gun at some point. They could do a lot of things to mix it up, and I do think it's promising. But I also agree that jetpack, it was killing me, man. And I like this kind of game. I like, there's a million games I could cite that are this style of game. And I love it. And I love the satisfaction of getting through a tough area. But this felt like a normal level of difficulty that was just made a lot harder because of the jetpack, which is an unfortunate kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate kind of thing because the exploration, too, is pretty good. It's it's a lot of tricky little caves hidden off in little side areas, and a lot of... your kind of classic check behind the waterfall type puzzles. Yeah. Where it's, I bet there's something on top of the ship this time.
Exactly.
Or right on the other side.
Yes, and then I boost up, and then there's a whole new area to explore. Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff like that, and the actual map design is pretty great. It's just that jetpack needs to be like.
It's funny,
it needs to be addressed. That's the biggest issue with this game.
Yeah, going forward, I would say that's the
Rarely
my
can
advice.
I cite something in a game like this where like that is the one thing that I want fixed.
So specific, but I do tend to agree with you on this, and I hope that they, and I'm sure that they would realize that and play testing it if they're going to expand on Shattered in the future, which I think definitely is worthwhile, and the iconography could be really cool to build on, so I would say tentatively it's a cool little game. It feels like a full game, it's not just like a 5-10 minute. It feels you can play it for a while, so there's value in that, and it's a free game obviously. So yeah, Shattered.
I'd say check it out. Hopefully you like the jetpack more than we did.
Yeah, forewarning on jetpacks on this one.